Hello and welcome to another episode of Grange TV. This is not a full episode. We're just going to be recapping. Not even recapping. We're just going to give our thoughts on the fights and what's coming next. We're going to talk about Terence Crawford versus Kell Brooks, and what's next with Terence Crawford. What do you think? What do you think of the fight? What do you think of the whole thing?
That fight went exactly how I predicted it was going to go. I thought it was going to be a bit of a landslide towards Terence Crawford. I think he's, in my opinion, the pound for pound best boxer in the world at the moment. So I thought he'd be a little bit too much for Kell Brook, who is, he's a class fighter, Kell Brook, but I think they're just at a different level. I think Terence Crawford, again, best pound for pound boxer in the world. So that's how I thought it would go. I thought he would be able to finish him. A little bit surprised that it was that early. I was thinking maybe more in the 7th or 8th round. Kell Brook is a very resilient fighter, but very impressive by Terence Crawford at that weight, where some people were questioning whether he'd be able to be at that weight and be so dominant.
What do you feel was the questions? Why?
Just him moving up weight from the 130 to 135, just the bigger frames and that. But he still, obviously, still has that power.
But he wasn't small. He was never small.
No, he was never small. But you know how people are. They like to question that.
Yeah.
They like to throw anything in there. It's very unfortunate, but with the boxing, like what's next for Terence Crawford?
Sorry, before that, I just want to say I feel that's one of the things when good successful boxers in their early to mid 30s or fighters move up in weight, that's more natural than to go down in weight.
Yep.
Sorry, I just wanted to give that.
Yeah.
Your bone becomes denser. You become heavier. So it's actually would be detrimental for him to go down in weight.
Yeah.
Anyways.
No, I was just saying, I think it's just unfortunate with boxing that they're not under, with different promotions and different networks and that, they can't come to agreements for sometimes to make the best fights. Why with the UFC, or if you're signed, in the UFC, which I think is the premier MMA promotion in the world.
It definitely is.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, it's not just my opinion. It is. But you can't get away from that. Do you know what I mean? The two best fighters usually fight. And at this stage, I feel in that weight division, we have Errol Spence, who's signed with one promotion, who's on one network. And then we have Terence Crawford, who's on another promotion, on another network. And they can't come to an agreement to make a fight happen.
I agree. The only thing I was going to say, if you signed with a different organization than the UFC, like if you're at Bellator, you won't see that fight happen either.
Yeah, exactly.
In MMA. But obviously, if you're all under the UFC banner, for the most part, you'll see people fight each other. But there's still situations where it doesn't happen. But no, definitely, I agree with you. What about Danny Garcia? Does Errol beat Danny? I just want to see Angel Garcia talk.
I feel Errol Spence beats Danny Garcia. It's a really tough match for him. But that whole weight division is stacked. Like, you still have people like Keith Thurman, who obviously went out with a lot of injuries and then came back and fought Pacquiao, which was, a lot of people thought it was a warm-up fight, and then he'd be back in that title shot and that. So it's a stacked weight division there, but the two best at the moment, definitely Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. That's what I want to see happen.
And who do you think wins that one?
It's a tough one. Every time I've thought that Errol Spence Jr. is going to be, like, the next one is going to be the guy who really sort of finds him out. He proves me wrong. So he's a really technical boxer, great counter puncher. Why Terence Crawford is a little bit more elusive in that southpaw, very damaging. I love the way that Terence Crawford subtly just makes them subtle movements and then just explodes into power. But I'm going to go Terence Crawford for that one. Yourself?
Between the two of them, the problem is, and I'll say this, I would say right now, gun to my head, I'd like to see what happens with Errol and Danny. I'd like to see that first, because that will allow me to make a better decision, I suppose. But the thing is that, like you said, like in boxing or even in MMA sometimes, how long it takes to build a good fight with guys in their early to mid 30s. By the time that guys actually fight, a lot of times they're not. Crawford might not look like Crawford in 2 years, 3 years. Yep. You know what I mean? So I would like to see if it happened today, I'd probably go with Crawford just off the back of those performances.
Yeah, the performances have been incredible. The other thing is Errol Spencer's coming back from a pretty serious car accident where he was in a coma. So how well he's come back from that, whether there is any existing injuries, will be a big question around that as well.
Man, coming back from a coma is never going to be easy, man. My thoughts are with him, you know.
Yeah.
So that's massive. Yeah, look, taking everything into account, I'd have to say, I would have to say that Crawford. That'd be my picks.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If that were to happen now, what do you think about McGregor fighting Pac-Man?
Again, I don't like it, but I'll watch it.
Would you rather see him fight a Danny Garcia or an Errol Spence?
Yeah.
Or Bud Crawford? Although he's a lot bigger than them.
From a purist like who loves martial arts and combat sports, yes, I would like to see that.
But he's a lot bigger, though. He is a lot bigger.
But your off-stream fans, they're not interested in that. You know what I mean? Your off-stream fans who just love watching Conor McGregor and his press conferences, only tune in when it's him fighting. They don't care who Danny Garcia is. They don't care who Keith Thurman is. They don't care about these other boxers. They don't care about Errol Spence. Maybe even Terrence Bud Crawford. They care about Manny Pacquiao. Do you know what I mean? Them huge names. Floyd Mayweather. The names that sell themselves. There's not many fighters out there that can just sell themselves without having to make a show. And Manny Pacquiao can do it. Floyd Mayweather can do it. Well, I feel the other guys who we've just spoken about aren't in that same league of their own of being able to sell a card. Oh yeah, but they can. Yeah, I'll take it to them. Do you know what I mean?
Hey, but Danny Garcia would be interesting.
Yeah, Danny Garcia would be.
That Danny Garcia, I would pay to see that press conference. All right, guys, tell us your thoughts. Tell us what you think. If you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, please do so. Let us know what you think. Put all your comments down. We'll try and get back to everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Take care.